I'm going to put my big girl pants on and go, all right, come at me, universe. I'm ready for it. So I feel anyone that's listening, it's just a matter of knowing healing is so powerful. It's actually a beautiful thing. It gets to be how you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this slow and painful death, because I truly believe death feels like when you're in the same place as you were last year thinking, oh, I wish I changed, and I still decided not to.
Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business. Hello, gorgeous beings, and welcome to today's podcast of Cosmic Money. I'm super excited to be here, and I am super excited. I mean, I'm Skye Hanley. I should probably just say that. Shall we throw that in there? Hello. And I'm super excited to have this amazing, gorgeous human being that I am very lucky to call a friend of mine as well, Tamara Meyer. She is a keynote speaker, entrepreneur. Gosh, you are a fellow podcast enthusiast, top 10 within Australia, which is amazing for Keys to the Queendom. And also, you've recently won a business award for, Business Elite, 40 Under 40. Like, that is just amazing. Hello, how are you?
Hello, my queen. What an introduction. I love you. And I'm sure you've been on podcasts before where you're like, oh, I've done that. Yes, I've done that.
It's always amazing. I often joke about the fact that I have a very healthy ego, but it is always still humbling when somebody else introduces you and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that and this other thing and tick, 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 because I think, and I'm sure you and I are going to talk about this today, but when you're a very determined human being, I feel like we sort of forget sometimes, like all those different amazing pieces that actually make up us and very much you. You are multifaceted. I know that indeed. So
I have never heard of healthy ego, and I love it. And now I'm like, yes, thank you. But you know what, my love? It has a lot to do as well with having someone like yourself as a beautiful, beautiful friend in my life that reminds myself these things. And I think a lot of women, need that support and that cheerleader. And it's just nice to be able to have you in my corner as well. So thank you. You are amazing, queen.
We'll just sit here for the next half an hour, 45, just doting all over one another. I'm all for it. I think healthy ego is maybe just my way to get away with having an ego, perhaps, or something. I'm not sure, but we're going with it for right now. And so you can have a healthy one as well. So look, I mean, as I said, I'm so excited to have you here, Queen. You are amazing. I just love you. What I see in you and why I love you so much is because there is a piece of soul recognition in me that sees so much amazingness and brilliance in you. And I do think, it comes from an understanding of how determined you are and how hard you work and how dedicated to, mastery and things like that you are across all areas of your life. And I know that to be true. That isn't just some, pump up because you're here. And so, I really wanted to bring you here today, obviously, to be able to share those amazing codes and that wisdom, with our audiences, to be on that journey of mastery, because I think we're always on it. I don't know that we finish, whenever we get to the finish line, I will be really happy, Yeah, and to just bring that sort of, that sass and that amazingness that is you. So I guess my first question in amongst all of that is, where do you feel like that, that level of determination and instinct and mastery really came from, or how did that evolve in you?
Wow. That's been one of my favorite words. I've just been doing a content mastery write-up, and that, I don't know, it turns me on when people say, being a master of what it is we do. And I was actually reflecting more of what you just asked me, like, where did all of this come from? The discipline, the resilience, the commitment, the devotion. Yeah. I was actually speaking to my client about it because for a while there, I thought it definitely came from my dad. My dad was in the military. He's German. He was always at work. He was always very much like, had this structured behavior in his life. And I think that's kind of where my structure and discipline and being half German and Brazilian,
that's the sass and the fire in you.
That's the sass and the fire. But then I was really thinking about it. And I feel a lot of it also came probably more from my mum. She was an Avon lady, and she was the woman that was knocking on doors when my father didn't have a job, when my father, had his gambling addictions. So it's really an amazing question to ask, like, how did I bring this structuredness in my life, the discipline, the resilience, but also this nurture and the ability to keep going and to keep embracing and to keep showing up. And I truly believe it is a lot to do with my mother, because she hit a lot of, the hardships that my father put us through. And I speak a lot about that on my podcast and to my clients. And, reflecting more and more now, it was my beautiful mum, because, she hit a lot of those things. And she was the one that she would always say, Tummy, never tell anyone what's going on in your life, work hard. And she really has instilled, I believe, this beautiful element. And this is what I truly teach everyone, is show up no matter what's going on in your life. But I think what's really changed in myself and what I'm really more passionate about is that it doesn't have to be from a painful place. And you and I know this, because we have so much, I don't know what it is, but we wake up every day and we're just so committed. And I was put into dancing from the age of 3. So there's always been this level of like structure and routine and discipline, and always striving for more, and, always wanting to be the best. But for a really long time, based on what my dad used to say to me, was, if you're not number one, you're a failure.
How do you feel that that's like shaped, everything now? Do you feel, I have this journey myself sometimes where I feel the duality of, the doer in me being the best parts of, who I am. And also I know that there is a frantic child inside of me as well that sometimes is doing, I have goosebumps, is doing out of an anxiety. And I've had to really journey with being able to split those two things, because, it took me a little while to alchemize, because I was like, no, how can this best bit of me be also this, troublesome thing that causes issues? And I was like, oh my God, it's because there's actually two sides to it. There is the doer and there's the frantic child. So how do you feel like that shaped you?
I think it was really the acceptance of, for a while there, I didn't actually accept it, because I was really, I resented my father doing that for me for a very long time. It was almost like scenarios played out, and I used to, want my father to be there to watch me on stage, and I want him to be proud when I was doing, an acting recital, or if I was doing a dance performance, and I'd go off stage. I was a stronger actor than dancer, and I would place all the time in acting. I'd come first, whatever, but before I would ever place, I would ask him, how did I go? He'd go, oh yeah, probably 6th or 7th, and then I'd be like coming first. And then the opposite of that was, if I was doing a dance recital and I wasn't at the front and I was at second row, he would, say to me, I think it's because the girls are smaller than you. And so there was this resentment in me that I felt for so many years, that I became this hungry, I had to be number one, because if I wasn't, I would be a failure. And it's only been as of late, because I speak to so many entrepreneurs now who have no fear in wanting to be the best. And for so long, I would be saying to people, I was never the best. I was never the best. And then I realized it was actually me allowing myself to play small. And so being able to have the duality of accepting what I went through was actually a strength, but also working through the acceptance and also awareness that it became almost a way of detaching from the resentment and forgiving him, and seeing the beauty of having to, balance the it's okay that you may fail, rather than if you fail, you are a loser and you will not get through
wrong
life.
with you, or whatever it might be. Yeah. You're actually already answering a question that came to my mind, which was literally like, I know that you're an amazing human and a brilliant coach. And so now on this side of it all, like I always, I don't know about you, I psychoanalyze my entire life, at this kind of, I guess, intelligence level that I have now. And maybe in 40 years, I'll psychoanalyze the rest of it kind of thing, So what now in all of your intelligence do you realize to be true about your dad and how he was showing up, back then in those ways, and the things that he was saying, and, all of those pieces?
I'm actually working through a lot of stuff about my dad and I and our relationship because we don't talk. And I think there's a level of guilt that I have because I did blame him a lot, but I do believe that he only knew what he knew best, and he didn't have a mother and father either. Both his parents obviously left him, and he was, he went through some horrific stuff, and he was in the military, and, he had demons, and, he was a gambling addict. And I think and believe he wanted to shape me in a way where I became so strong that nothing would shake me, which I now look back and reflect on it. Like, we went through so many traumatic things, and I do now see how I am the person I am, because while he probably didn't do it at the best way or the right way or whatever the right way is, he did it as what he believed was how it's going to support me to be this strong woman. And things like Germans don't cry. It was just those little things. And when we became homeless when I was 12, that was a massive thing because I just had already learnt how to just go, right, what do I need to do? What is the solution? How do I persevere? And now psychoanalyzing myself, there's a lot of work I need to work on myself. And obviously a lot of work that I'm still now starting to navigate the dynamics between my father and I almost now want to thank him, and also at the same time want to forgive him, but at the same time I also know, there was a lot of stuff there that has made me who I am, and I don't regret it one bit.
Well, you sort of slipped before when you spoke, and you said, when he was doing those things for me, and then you sort of stopped and said, well, to me. And you're so right on both fronts. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, isn't that, like there's a bit of psychoanalyze we could do right there. And it's so interesting we're having this conversation. I was in the shower before everyone. I was naked, and I was pondering suffering, because what else do you do in, the shower but ponder suffering? As this, conceptually, this is what we do with our time, standing in the shower, and I'm pondering suffering. And I was like, it's so interesting, look, people who are listening, I'm sure that they've all had huge journeys of lifetimes. And I know, listening to you and your story, and I know listening, I know my story, and I know I've lived a million lifetimes as well, I think, in the, the short few years that I've been lucky enough to have. And as I've, I guess, aged, I don't want to, admit that, I feel that, like, some suffering now isn't as prolonged as perhaps it was. And that with that, I guess, wisdom means that the turnaround time is a lot faster. And I feel that, you're there with me too, where it's like, pick up the fucking crown, dust the motherfucker off, and stick it back on your head. And it's not about discounting what has happened, or being a victim to something. Like, that's all real, that can occur. But we often have a choice, whether it's to say, okay, well, am I going to allow this to, be a toxicity inside of me for this prolonged period of time, where the only person who knows that I'm suffering is me, or the people around me perhaps as well? Or do we actually find a way to heal? And that healing doesn't necessarily have to be this prolonged thing either. The healing can happen in any moment. Is there something in there that you would like to speak to? Because I know that, as I said, you having such a lifetime, like, how do you feel at this end of it?
Can I just say my suffering thoughts happen on the toilet?
Is that well?
So I hear this stuff.
There's something about pants down that has us in suffering. That's fine.
Literally. Well, God, I wish I had my glass of red wine, because then that's another side of me that you'll see. But
we'll come back for that podcast another day.
We'll come back to that. I always say this, and it's a common quote: pain is inevitable and suffering is a choice. And I used to have this belief that healing is this like horrible, painful, poisonous drink that you just have to like put up with. And so many people have this resistance, and like, no, I don't want to work on myself. I just want to stay in the suffering. And I love that the fact that more and more we are understanding the beauty that we can actually hold our own, show up, be able to see things and see it's happening for us, and be able to then see it as, I know something more is coming. And I feel like the more conversations you can have with yourself on, stuff's happening for me right now, I've had conversations with you where I call you or we're having a conversation and we're both in it, or you've just come out of it and I'm in it, and it's
we
like
just take
we're
turns.
doing it.
Like, who's in it this week? Yep.
And you can't unsee it, because when you've gone through it and you've done all this personal development work and healing, it's just kind of like you sink in and you go, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and go, all right, come at me, universe. I'm ready for it. So I feel anyone that's listening, it's just a matter of knowing healing is so powerful. It's actually a beautiful thing. It gets to be how you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this slow and painful death, because I truly believe death feels like when you're in the same place as you were last year thinking, oh, I wish I changed, and I still decided not to.
No.
And I'd rather go through the healing and the pain and the life lessons and the hardships than be in the feeling of death of, wow, I'm still where I was last year and I didn't do anything about it because I was too afraid.
I've spent my life obsessed with the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business. I've literally traveled the world trying to crack the code. And what I've found is that when you couple the pursuit of making massive amounts of money with the strategy and science of success, plus having a desire for significant impact and contribution, magic happens. That's why I created a free 21-day next level vortex money mission magic. Hell yes to that. This 21-day quantum business challenge is here to shift you into new timelines and realities. 21 days to quantum shift your impact, business, and your bank account. These carefully crafted and channeled tools are the exact things I've used to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not done yet. If you're ready for incredible transformation now in all areas of your life, more money and financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice, better, more connected relationships, greater levels of health, and simply calling in more magic into every single day, then these 21 days are going to blow your mind. 21 days of powerful universal, behavioral, and strategic tools to quantum shift your internal state so that you start to see massive changes in your external reality, bringing the metaphysical into the physical. Join the challenge now and get ready for the most powerful 21-day expansion to quantum shift your impact, business, bank account, and your life. Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.
What is the piece of advice that you would give to, anyone who is in it right now? Because as you and I both know, when we're actually in it, it really is hard to see that life is happening for us. And the more that we can actually instill that understanding during normal to good times, it starts to become a bit more like a slingshot, because when you're in the hard times and it's hard, and you're going through a thing, it's almost like better recall to be able to go, okay, there's something fucking in this for me. Like, I've agreed to this for some reason, like we could talk about soul contracts. We won't do that today. However, it's like this thing I have agreed. And so, what is it that's in this for me, not just happening to me? And the thing that I notice, especially, and it is really fascinating, everyone. I promise you this is a real thing, that I speak to a lot of millionaires and multimillionaires and things like that all the time, they are the groups that I am very lucky to hang out in. And even though, we love the money and we celebrate the success, what it is more so is who you truly need to become to be the person who can hold that level of wealth. And I heard that for years and years and years. And I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, what? Oh my God. Like, what? I don't know. I just want the millions. Send them my way, and I'll be happy, right? And what I noticed to be true, though, is that we really need to alchemize the healing, as we're speaking about, and, the alchemize the healing and the suffering at the levels that we're at. And if we talk business for a second, it's like, so you have $100 client that leaves you and you're like, oh my God, I'm devastated. That's $100 a week or something like that. Or you're like, oh my gosh, $1,000 a month client has just left. And you're like, oh my God, that's $1,000. It starts to, it's not that it starts to sting once it hits like 20,000 or 50,000 or, whatever, right? It's just that as you grow, the problems get bigger, not smaller. The problems get bigger. And so if we can't alchemize the healing, if we're talking about business at $100 or or $1,000 or $20,000, how the fuck are we going to be able to alchemize it when you've just lost a $100,000 deal? You know, and so the turnaround time for the people who are in the sevens, you know, is so much faster, right? Like crown, dust, put it on head, go.
And you know what? It was my theme for the year was I'm going to stretch myself. I have themes at the start of each year. I don't do New Year's resolution bullshit. It's like the theme is this. Last year was leading with love. And I think the year before that was all to do with healing. This year is like stretching myself. So I was like, right, I'm on my throne, crown on, universe. I'm stretching myself. Bring it to me. And I assumed it was all going to be millions of dollars, all the amazing things, fancy holidays, cars, the good. No, the universe went, tomorrow, you want to stretch yourself? Well, let me bring you all of these things so you can get prepared for what's to come, so you are ready to hold the wealth, the fulfillment, the happiness, the fuck yes type of clients. And for a while there, I was like, for fuck's sake, there was this, I get it. Fuck. But it was just, again, I think everything's timed perfectly, and women and men, the more you again, you know, you are having conversations with yourself, you're quick to turn around and just accept, appreciate, process, and keep moving, that needle will move. And if you learn through those hurdles and challenges and you ask, you will receive, but you will also receive the good that comes with the bad, the negative that comes with the positive. And so what? It gets to be this beautiful dance we get to do because we are fucking building an empire. Yeah. And I think it's just, again, accepting that and knowing that, and every entrepreneur will understand that. And if you want to make millions of dollars, and you and I can, you know, really talk about this, because a lot of people want this, but they're not willing to either embody the work, heal, or, you know, learn new skill set. So I've just learned, if I want to make lots of money, I need to just work on myself and accept and be open to receiving, learning, and being a good fucking human. And I promise you, when you just own it and surrender, then it just becomes almost like this, like, we're here for it. Like, I'm ready. I'm in the roller coaster ride.
Yeah. It's almost like an acceptance piece, I find, as well, where, you know, I feel like there's a meme where there's, you know, a child and he looks like, you know, he's on a roller coaster or something, and he's like, what the fuck? And it's like, yes, that is what it's like to, you know, have 1,000 ego deaths and soul deaths and all the rest of it on this amazing journey of business and life, you know. Because I think for people like you and I, that is one and the same. Somebody asked me yesterday, actually, they were like, you know, why do you do everything for? Like, you know, it's like business or life. What are you doing everything, you know, like for, basically? And I was like, I am the wrong person to ask that, because business is life. And I, you know, and I knew the answer was meant to be life and relationship and love and all of these amazing things. And I was like, oh, my special brand of psychopathy is literally that, you know, that business is life, that I love. Like, we're so honored that we get to do what it is that we do every single day, you know, and to show up and to blow it up and, you know, and to serve others, you know, is just insane. So what is it for you that you're super passionate about then?
God, it's funny because, like, I'm so passionate about business, but if we were to go micro and all the specifics, you know, I love creativity. You know, I'm so passionate about, you know, creating content. You know, I love, you know, doing the podcast and speaking to people every single day. I love helping my clients. I'm passionate about, you know, going to the movies because I love watching actors, because I used to be a professional actor. So for me, I love, you know, looking at people's storytelling. I love understanding, you know, where people came from and where they went. And, you know, a passion of mine, I sound like a crazy business person, but I live what I'm doing right now. That is my passion. And so, you know, I got asked this question. It was actually really hard for me to answer. And it was, you know, what are your hobbies outside of work? And I was like,
well, we're filling in the same form. I think you and I were at an event together, and there was a form that we had to fill in. And literally the questions were like, what do you do outside of work? And then the next question was like, you know, it was like, and my answer was, well, I work. And then it's like, what do you do on the weekend? And I'm like, I don't know, work.
Well, I work.
Do when you have downtime or spare time. And I was like, and I work, you know, fuck. And I was like, wow. I'm like, do I have a problem, or is this just, you know, that like loving what you do and doing what you love every day kind of thing?
And you know what, though? I feel like maybe there is a bit of a, and this is again why I love you. You know, a lot of people have said to me in the past, like, you need to slow down. You know, you do so much, you work so much. And if you guys were actually able to watch me on a day-to-day basis, and yes, I do work a lot, as every entrepreneur does who wants to build a multi-7, 8-figure business. But I also get to spend time with my beautiful partner most days and my cats, and I get to go see and travel the world, and I get to, you know, learn from some amazing entrepreneurs who are making, you know, billions, and I get to have conversations with you, and I get to wake up and I get to go to the walk for a beach, and, you know, I get to live the life that I truly desire because of what I do each and every single day. So yeah, I live and breathe my passion, and if people have something to say about it, well, they can go fuck off, because you know, what is deemed healthy of a work-life balance?
Yeah.
It's what works for me. It may not work for everyone else, but it works for me. And it's why, you know, I can jump on a call with you and be like, so I've just had a sales call. I'm here, but I love you and I can do it.
We're doing all the things. Yeah.
We're doing all the things, but because we're so devoted to our mission, and you really relate with
Devotion is such a powerful word, you know, like, as I said, I joke and say it's just my own kind of psychopathy or whatever. But, you know, my word for this year was actually mastery. And that is so different to any word that I've previously picked. Mine have normally been like, you know, evolution, expansion, courage, impact, you know, all these different things. And this year for me was like, it just, you know, it just hit different. And I was like, mastery, like I want to master, you know, or be going for that mastery level, you know, in all areas of my life, not just one, you know. And, you know, and as part of my journey, like that's enabled everything from, you know, a more connected, deeper, beautiful relationship. That's, you know, greater levels in business and things like that, because hashtag business is life. And then, you know, and even at this point, as we sit here today, it's like 15 kilos gone, health back on track, which needed to happen and things like that. Like, you know, to truly be able to balance out the love and the passion within business and the other areas of life, to want for nothing, to be able to travel and meet amazing humans and have these beautiful conversations without something else falling off. And, you know, I sometimes teach on like frequency, literally the frequency different people do life at. And again, you know, soul to soul, you and me here, I think that we are those people that we fit more in because, you know, we're used to running at a greater frequency. You know, the bounce back is a lot faster. And I actually genuinely mean this. I am not just saying this for like a ploy or a something, but when people say to me, you know, like, oh my gosh, but you're doing so much, or, you know, that kind of thing, or thinking that if I'm doing so much, I must be dabbling in a lot of areas. And they're like, that's cute or something like that. When I'm like, no, I'm fucking mastery. Like, you know, I'm going for mastery in all areas, right? The thing I always think that comes to mind every single time is I'm like, no, I feel as if you're doing too little. Like, I don't understand what everyone else is doing in their existence and their life. You get this one shot. You know, and don't get me wrong, I believe in other lives as well. However, I get this iteration as Skye, you know, and I want to ensure that I feel every moment doing all of the things and having no regret whatsoever. So how is it that you feel with that devotion and that determination, like that fire within you, you know? Where does that feel like that originates for you?
Yeah, for me, I know exactly the moment, and it was when we lost everything.
Yeah.
You know, I went, and just a bit of background, you know, we moved from Germany to Australia. So born in Germany, my mum was from Brazil. My dad obviously was born in Australia, moved to Germany, and he, you know, grew up there, went to the military. And so German was my first language, Portuguese was my second. And then one day Dad was like, we're moving to Australia. And so my mum and myself, my brother and Dad moved to Australia, and he was back into his work mode. He became a project manager, and my mum was raising myself and my brother in Australia. So English was my third language. And so I just remember watching her obviously like support us with everything when my dad was obviously working in and out of jobs and whatnot. And we went to 6 different schools, by the way, because of his inconsistency and his lack of stability of being able to hold money and also spend it. But it was when I was 12, we came back from school. And it's funny, my mum, every time she picked my brother and I up from school, she would always bring us Donut King donuts and a milkshake. And it was just something I just always remembered. And we would go have the pink wrappers in the car and we're eating. And then, we got home and both of us and my brother walked to the door and she pulled out a key, went to open the door and it wouldn't open. And that was in that moment where then she called my dad. I just remember seeing my mum's face just change. And it was probably one of the most horrific feeling knowing that your mum is scared, because mum's never scared. Well, we never witnessed mum being scared. She's the strong one. And that was the moment that created this perseverance and determination, because I've never ever felt so scared in my life because my mum was scared. And I remember the owner that owned the place we lived in lived across the street from us. So myself and my brother ran to his house and we were begging the owner to please let us stay at our house. Like, I'm sorry my dad lost all the money. I'm sorry my dad didn't pay the rent for 2 years. And they just looked at us and said, like, we can't do anything about it. And it was that moment in time where I know, looking back, I've never wanted to ever experience that again, have my family experience that again, and ever be in a position where I will feel like I've lost everything. And I know now that that's why I'm so determined and disciplined and devoted to everything, because I know what it feels like when you lose everything. And that is why, even if I wake up from maybe having a really big day at work and, I've probably used my voice and I'm feeling like exhausted and I've had a good sleep and I naturally want to turn off my alarm and keep sleeping in, I just know that every morning when I set my routine with the intention and the meditation and the journaling and speaking to the universe and being grateful for things, they're the reasons why I do what I do, because I then become so re-energized again. I then know that I'm here for a reason on this earth. And it's almost instantly that while I was exhausted, because I still commit to what I want to do, I am able to then just reframe and reshift, and I forget that I was exhausted. And I think it's important for the listeners who are, maybe in this phase of like, how do I stay disciplined and determined? We all have that why, that thing. And when you really go back to that place and you think about not just for yourself, but for your future family, or even, what you want your life to look like. We all deserve to have this amazing life. And maybe for a while you guys have felt that you don't deserve it, or you never knew that it was possible. I'm telling you now, I've had nothing. I've been on the streets, and I can tell you now it is possible. Every single person deserves to build an empire and can have a life that they truly deserve. And
I always say, like, you're already a frequency match. Like, you are literally already a frequency match for everything that you can possibly imagine, to be true or potential, the house, the car, the notoriety, the, and fame, that kind of thing, the dollars, the friendships, the relationships, the health. Like, you are already a frequency match for all of those things, and it's really about, I think, that going out there and really taking the action and, doing all of the things, right, like, is the piece that's going to get you there. Like, sitting around and sort of thinking, I guess, or wishing and willing, like, this stuff doesn't just float in the window and slap you in the face. It's 2 parts. I always say manifestation equals vision plus big motherfucking action, right? So you can have the vision that you are already a frequency match for, and now you need to go out there and, get your little determined pants on and have a really good, great crack at it. And the other piece I find as well, is keep going until, that's why that, like, people like yourself and me, it's like, we know that we are successful and we know that we will continue to succeed in one way or another, even if, shit hits the fan and, everything goes a bit crazy and whatever. Like, it's not to say that we don't ever have meltdowns. Again, you and I have meltdowns to one another on and off.
Probably will.
For a variety of reasons, So it's not to say those things won't happen. It's just that, that we will literally keep going until, right? So with the duality of it all, with great loss and with, these amazing lessons that you're sharing with us now, what is the flip side of that? What would you say your greatest successes, to date are? The things that maybe you're most proud of? And it can be life, business. It could just be you, the human, like whatever it is.
Oh, that's such a big question. I'm going to start with the hardship because it made me change a lot. I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress when I was 6 weeks out of my WBFF show. So for those of you who don't know, I competed professionally, and just before I did, I was diagnosed with CPTSD, and I never knew you could, one, get it as a child, and, two, I thought only military people have it. And I'm not one for, labels and things like that. So this was all very new to me. Yet what it did to me was it helped me go, right, I've obviously been suppressing everything that my beautiful mother had, instilled in me from a very young age. And that's when it opened up the doors of NLP, meditation, healing. And I had 6 weeks to step on stage while I was diagnosed. The therapist was so worried about me. And I took the holistic approach on going on stage, still doing everything that I had set out to do with my discipline, with my training, nutrition. And that was the day I won my pro card against 54 girls on stage. And that was the day that my healing journey changed, and also why I went from fitness coach to professional athlete to into the personal development space, because of the pain and the learning lesson that you can't suppress what you have, hidden from the world. You have to, and you want to be willing to work through the healing stuff of what you've gone through in your life. So that was a big moment. And of course, I think now, this year alone, because of the direction of becoming a business mentor, I've only been a business mentor for a year, because I went from COVID, having my own fitness app and, learning, getting my qualifications as a life coach, and then, transitioning to business. This year alone, from having a podcast that has hit top 9 and having guest speakers like Dr. John DeMartini and Daniel G, now Conor McGregor's coach, Owen Roddy, going to America soon and getting the 40 under 40. This year alone has been probably one of my biggest achievements, but it was because of the pain I went through that made me make those changes and transitions that when I connect to the dots, that is the biggest thing that I really wanted to share with you guys today, because you may think I've had it all and I haven't, but just remember the pain that you do experience and the hardships will bring forward some amazing gifts and successes.
If you let it, I think.
If you
let it.
Yeah.
Gorgeous being. It is truly my honor to have you here joining me on this co-created adventure through the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. However it is that you landed here, whether we know each other personally or professionally, whether a friend shared this podcast with you as they thought you might get something out of it, or whether you stumbled across me by sheer accident or divine intervention, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to ask you a little favor. It is my joy to do what it is that I do every single day. And so if you have received anything here, a piece of magic, a strategy, a mindset shift, something that has transformed you in some way, I ask that you share this podcast with others so that together we can transform the world for the better. One business, one human, one frequency, and one podcast at a time. Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.
Because that's what we're saying. Like, I don't think, you and I are sitting here going, oh my God, and then this fucking shit thing happened, and then this other shit thing happened, or whatever. And you and I have so many likenesses in our journey, whether it be from, diagnoses to a hardship. I had a lot of death in my family, like all these different kinds of things that have helped to shape us, both the good and the bad, And of course, it's not about, everybody who's listening having to go to the brink, of whatever it may be to then be able to be successful. You don't have to hit some kind of, emotional rock bottom or whatever it might be. You get to choose every single day. You get to choose courage. You get to choose action, and you get to choose to step out of the prolonged pain and suffering, as we were saying before, into, okay, well, what is the lesson here? How can I use this? How can this be part of what actually makes me amazing and unique and different, and and I can recognize my gifts and lean into all of that more. And from that place, I truly believe that we get greater levels of success anyway. So I could sit here and chat to you all day long because I absolutely love you. And you know that. we'll have a cocktail and a wine next time. I want to ask you, I've got 2 more questions technically. So the first one is really, again, for the listeners out there leaning into, you and your genius as a business coach, or actually any other. I will allow whatever answer. What do you believe, it takes in terms of the strategy and the energetics to, to hit that 7 figures, multi-7 figures and beyond?
Oh, okay. What can you say it one more time just so I can fill into it?
Yeah, it's here as part of
Urgent energetics, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like this podcast's greatest purpose is the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. That is what Cosmic Money is all about. The strategy, the behavioral, the universal. And so, asking all of our guests what they truly believe is that key factor. You can have a couple of key factors if you'd like. I'll allow it to really getting that 7-figure and beyond success that they're so after.
Yeah. Okay. I love that so much. So the strategy, I believe, and I think one thing that a lot of people tend to do is they go too broad with everything when it comes to what they are here to do. And I think it's getting really clear on what you're so fucking good at and passionate at, and really niching down on who your specific ideal client or product or whatever that is. And it has to be, again, because there's so much noise out there now, it really needs to be from a strategic standpoint. It needs to stand out. It needs to be, I'm over vanilla shit on the internet. So I'm very big on give me orgasms with your content, speak to me with your soul, storytelling. So from a strategic place, I believe, facts tell, stories sell. And that's a massive strategy that I've been really implementing when it comes to building a business in that 7 figures, because, if you're sitting in that 6 figure sort of at the moment place, and which is amazing, congratulations, for you to then master into the 7 figures, I feel like it has to be really strategic on standing out, not being afraid to be big with what you do, and speaking to an ideal niche, yes, but also, again, stop being boring, make orgasmic content, and your messaging has to be storytelling. So that's the strategic side of things. Yeah. Getting also so good with your branding, because your branding makes you relatable to the people you want to work with. I think that's a massive thing. Yeah. And the energetics for me, massive thing was allowing myself to, become open and vulnerable and showcasing who I truly am. And I'm sure everyone says that, or you hear that all the time. The problem is when you're building a 7-figure business online, people have this perception they have to be someone else, or they have to pretend to be this person or speak like that person. Yeah. But from an energetic space, because if you want to work with aligned fuck yes type of people and want to make 7 figures, you have to be yourself. Yeah. And so the energetics from that is being authentically you, removing anything that no longer serves you, stop pretending to be someone you're not, and also allowing that little girl to also have her voice, because you've pushed her down for so long and you've not allowed her to, heal through what you've been through as a child. So I think that's a massive, massive thing. And also your frequency, which is all things to do with your routine and habits, meditation, intentions. Don't just wake up and go, oh, I need to wake up and do my thing. It's like, is your intention today to make money? If so, what's the specifics of money you need to make? Okay, today I'm going to make $1,000 with my low ticket item. Okay, what's the strategy behind that? How are you feeling in this moment? What do you need to do to get into queen fuck yes 7 figures, and allowing yourself to really step into that version of yourself. And I just feel like a lot of people really just need to prioritize pleasure and have fun. You guys get to fucking make 7 figures. Like, can you just grasp yourself on that?
Top 3% of the world, right? Like, we're already top 3%. If somebody is sitting there and they're listening to this podcast, you are already in the top 5 to 3% of the world. And now we get to go 1%, by by making that $1 million. And the fact that we even have the capacity, ability, birthright, you know, to be able to do that, like, I just think so much so it's our responsibility to do so, because the more wealth in the hands of good people means the more good is going to happen in the world. So my little preach, you know, is that, like, you know, you deserve to be filthy fucking rich. Like, it is that simple, right? Like, you know, it gives me goosebumps, like, because it's just like, you deserve it. Absolutely. Because I truly believe if you're listening to this podcast, more good is going to happen in the world, you know? And everything you said, Tam, like, it's you are just reflecting. You know, I study behavioral science. I study humans. I love it. I love, you know, everyone. And I'm always fascinated and ask lots of questions. And again, like, the greatest intention of this podcast is having these conversations with 7-figure and beyond humans. And really what I've noticed over the years is the through lines in everything that you just said. It is the people who are waking up with intention. It is the people who are on mission every single day. It is the people who are of service. It is the people who have alchemized their own bullshit and their own healing. It is the people who have had to work through the worthiness stuff and all the rest of it, and the resilience and the resourceful, and the quicker that people can just you know, like, speed up that frequency, you know, do the work. Unfortunately, do the work. That's all there is to do. Then the quicker you're going to get the results. We can't be annoyed at the results we didn't get from the work we didn't do, you know? And I think that a lot of business owners out there, and I say this with so much love because I want everyone to be so filthy fucking rich, you know, we just have to check in with ourselves and be like, well, am I in entitlement? You know, pissy about the results I'm not getting from the work I'm simply not doing. You know, and so that's a little bit of a call out, I think, to everyone with so much love, you know, that just check in with yourself, you know, like, and I know Tam and I are the reflecting type. We'll probably both walk away from this as well and go, yeah, fuck, like, where else am I not, you know, showing up? What else can I do better? What does that even look like? You know, I have one more question. I actually have one more question for you. I do want to ask. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, you just wait there a moment.
We're just in the energetic.
Oh my God, it's so fired up and passionate.
I know. I love you.
Did I ask already was, you know, what is your next edge?
Oh, as in my next steps or what I'm doing?
I don't know. Like, you tell me, what is your next edge? What is the thing that you are journeying or that you're currently, you know, moving yourself through or past?
Oh, so funny you're asking.
Can't get away without me asking you that question. Yeah, no escaping. There's no escaping.
No, I don't know if, I think I've mentioned it to, I'm going to America, right, next week to... one, be in the room full of amazing people, 2, interview people in person. But I have this pull over in America, and I think it's either because I will be over there doing speaking gigs or maybe having more clients over there. And I also know within myself that the edge that I'm really working towards now is this agency vibe, like content agency, building my speaking gigs. That's something I really am focusing on. And I've actually just been really, and this is, again, what I want to bring forward. I've been looking at what I can do more with my podcast. So I've been looking at, you know, Diary of CEO, like how his studio is set up. Okay, am I going to have a studio? Am I going to do a tour around the world? What is the next big thing I want to do? So these are the things that I've been really bringing forward and feeling into. And the fact that I'm going to America with the fact that I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen. All I know is the intention is to network, to be seen and heard, to be interesting and, you know, ask right questions, but also see what that brings. But yeah, definitely wanting to build an agency, travel around the world next year with my podcast and speaking gigs too. And yeah, I think for now, that's what's been my thing.
You know, I feel like really, you know, it's that, like, leaning into the discomfort. Right? Like, it's, you know, it's not that these things don't sometimes scare us or shock us or, you know, or make us feel uncomfortable or, you know, sideways on the floor and things like that. It's just, you know, being able to go, okay, I've done this before, I've survived, you know, and I've done other things harder than this and I'm still here. And so, you know, if my next edge is X, Y, Z, you know, then, like, that's cool. I can do this as well, you know, and keep going even when it's hard, right?
100%, babe. And, you guys are hearing me say all this and I'm saying it with conviction and confidence. Guys, I'm shitting my fucking pants right
It's
now.
the reality, though. And
I
that's
am
the
not
thing. It's the reality. Yeah.
And you know what? Every person I speak to, and Skye, you can relate to, we will always have that, fuck, I'm doing this. I'm fucking so scared. But when it's in that moment, it's there for us to lean into it. I always know if there's fear there and there's this like, you need to do it. That's basically it.
Yeah. So again, there's like a swear word that normally comes after that because it's generally like, oh my God, like, oh, this thing, it's so big and it's so massive and I can't believe it's landed with me and I know that I need to do it. Fuck. Like, it's like this full stop because you're like, damn it. Like, why do I put myself through this all the time, right? And that's why I think that the edge question is so powerful because I feel as if like, people like you and I, again, Tam, like as the example today, and in all of our ego, like I think you and I were both lucky that we were able to do acting as children and things like that, which was able to give us a certain amount of resilience and resourcefulness and confidence and things like that. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't mean that things aren't hard sometimes as well and that things don't scare us or that there aren't edges that we're still moving through from, as you've been discussing today, past traumas and different things like that. It still comes up all the time, and that's what I love, why, as I said, I wanted to ask that question because I know that to be true for me. And so I want everyone else to understand that actually this is a through line as well, that it's not about not being afraid or it's not about, not pushing ourselves or whatever. It's actually that we do it even if, and even when. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't as well and we have a little freak out and whatever. But, yeah. Oh, amazing.
Oh, thank you for asking that, babe. Yeah, I just want to add in because it's your intuition that's really going to guide you, and sometimes you're like, why are you telling me to go to America? Well, all right, but you're like, are you like,
yes,
okay, you're pulling me to America. Cool, I'll listen. And a lot of people may not have that trust in themselves yet. And I think that's why people work with you, Skye, and myself. It's like we give them the power to make those decisions and allow them to see the beauty and power that if we are fucking scared and we're doing it and we're embodying it and we're leading by example, more of you guys get to shit your pants and say, fuck.
Like, fuck. Yeah. And I mean, to me, like, to me, that's what coaching is about as well. Coaching is literally, being that mirror and reflecting back to somebody the answers that are already inside of them. Because at the end of the day, you guys, you already have the answers, inside of you. They're already there, right? And it's about trusting the downloads and trusting the intuition, and acting on them fast because success loves speed.
Oh, I get that tattoo in America. I don't know. Every time I travel, I need to get a tattoo of something. Besides my very first tattoo, which is another story.
That's another day. Yes.
We're going off track now, but success equals speed. I love that.
And it's true, right? So. Oh my goodness, Tamara, I love you absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and playing with me and sharing of your story and your genius and, all of those amazing things that are quintessentially you. Please tell everybody how they can find you, follow you, love you, like you, tweet you, click you, whatever it is that you want them to do to you. Please tell everybody how.
You said Queen Alicia. What was that thing you just said? Queen Alicious? What was it?
Did I? I mean, is that what you heard? I love that that's what your brain heard.
Yeah, I need to write that down in it. There was
I'll have to listen back. Who knows what I said?
You guys can find me tomorrow, my coach. And I would love to just drop in my podcast as well, Keys to the Queendom. And of course, same thing across all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and that is where you can find me, my beautiful humans.
Go check her out. She is an amazing business coach. And also I have complete Delta envy, I must admit. So you need to check out her amazing comp photos and things like that as well. Again, thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love you. And I can't get enough of you. So
love you. You're so beautiful. Thank you so much for having me, Queen. I love you so much.